Welcome to Faith, Reason, and Geekdom. I'm Roger.
And I'm Dusty.
My brothers and sisters in Christ, join us. We work out these three perspectives in our everyday lives. Jam-packed news week. News, issues, topics. We got all of it. We got RFK. We got a movie review. We got a porn debate Twitter thread. We got Barbie. We got Ask the Catholic Geeks. Two different. There's so much stuff to get into. I just want to say real quick, how was your weekend? I know it was actually pretty fun. We actually met up with each other. But other than that, how was your weekend?
It was pretty good.
Let's get into the news right away because we both had a good weekend, but I don't know where to start with this because you have some very interesting stuff to say about this, but let me lay down the field and share you guys this news. RFK, right? Everybody knows the famous lineage, Kingdom Camelot from President John F. Kennedy and his son. We all know the stuff that goes on with them, but he's been in the spotlight I would say the last 4 or 5 months, he's been really all over the news promoting his campaign, which I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but he's out there and people put the spotlight on him again and say, hey, let's dig into this RFK Jr. What's his goals? What are his platforms? And over the years, he's switched. He's gone for and against. Well, this is per the New York Post. RFK Jr. backs off, then supports 3-month abortion ban. So this is it's typical of what's been going on several years. So he said that he supports all-out ban, and then he got backed off and said, you know what, maybe there's certain circumstances that a woman can have an abortion. And then he's like, maybe 3 months. You know what, maybe 6 weeks. And the whole career has kind of gone back and forth. Yes, it is. The act is evil, but who perpetrates it? Why are they doing what they're doing? Do they have full knowledge? All of that different Catholic stuff that we get into. But as far as the issue, it's still something very touchy. People get really offended by it. But RFK Jr., you told me something interesting just before we got on about some of his stances on the abortion, kind of going back and forth. What would you like to share with us about that?
Actually, no, I'd like to go even further back. I'd like to go back to his uncle, John F. Kennedy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
We were working on a special interview with Father Will Combs right before jumping on air tonight. Mm-hmm. And I got to an interesting section in which Father Will was talking about a speech that John Kennedy gave as he was running for president. And he gave it to a group of Protestant ministers in Houston. Yeah. And he said this was the quote: "Whatever issue may come before me as president on birth control, divorce, censorship, gambling, or any other subject, I will make my decision in accordance with these views, in accordance to what the conscience tells me to be the national interest of the country, and without regards to outside religious pressures or dictates." So what he was talking about was there was a lot of people, there had never been a Catholic president, and there was a lot of people, especially speaking to a group of Protestants, Protestant leadership, concerned that that the Pope was going to be calling the shots from the Oval Office, right? So he was trying to basically say, no, I'm going to make my decisions in accordance to what my conscience tells me about the national interest. What is the national interest of our country? So I was reminded of that when you brought up this topic. Now, truth be told, I haven't read the headlines or the news, nor do I really care to, because I don't really think that Mr. RFK runs a snowball's chance in heck to really get elected. So the guy's just so divisive and controversial. I don't think he's going to get really far down. But then again, they said the same thing about Donald Trump. So what do I know, right?
Yeah, that's true. because I want to say one of the one of the quotes that were happening over the weekend. So it says, Mr. Kennedy misunderstood. This is a spokesperson saying it. Mr. Kennedy misunderstood a question posed to him by an NBC reporter in a crowded, noisy exhibit in a hall in Iowa State Fair. That's what his campaign wrote. So they're saying that he didn't understand, because he did say, yes, I would cap it at 3 months, which a lot of people were up in arms about that. Because again, first he had said he's not. Also, too, it says Mr. Kennedy's position on abortion is that it is always the woman's right to choose, and he does not support legislating banning abortion. So again, he says, yes, I support legislation banning 3 months. Up in arms, backlash. No. What he said, what he meant to say, what happened was, so they said the crowded noise. I don't know, because it'd be his publicist.
I don't know, but there's a part of me, I guess I've been around long enough to just wish that we could fast forward now, past all of this stuff that happens every 4 years. We go through the same rigmarole. Are there not enough problems in front of us that we can get down to solving, instead of dealing with theoreticals and whether or not somebody's going to do one thing or another as president? For really, I mean, I'm so sick of it all, and the major parties just play the same game, and over and over the same thing. I mean, when the crux of it comes, we're not even allowing third parties to get on the debate stage during key debates towards the end. This is like a two-party system that we're stuck in. Where are the new ideas? Where are the new problem solvers? I'm just kind of so sick of it all, and I just really wish that we had a leader or leadership emerge that would change things once and for all, that we would start heading in a better direction, Roger.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be like that anytime soon. It's going to be a long voyage before that even happens.
Yeah.
Speaking of long voyage, you saw something over the weekend. And
I didn't expect you to bring this up, by the way. That's so funny. Okay. We want to talk about a movie that I honestly just think was a pretty good movie. I mean, it was entertaining. It was well shot. It was well produced. It was a timepiece, because it takes place, I think in like the late 1800s, if I remember. But I don't even really know that it's worth talking about too much. I don't have too many positive things to say about it, or have too many negative things. I was just kind of blah about it.
Oh man, just put that on a poster.
And we're talking about the voyage of the Demeter, right, or the Demeter, or whatever it's called. Yes. And yes, you're absolutely right. It is based on a chapter in a book, I guess, Bram Stoker's Dracula. There is a chapter that has a ship captain's log about some events that took place on his boat as they were coming across the ocean. And I guess this movie does a really good job of really, there are no names in it. There's no big actors or anything like that, but it was well produced. It was very well done, and released by Universal, which interestingly enough is the home of Dracula when it comes to movie rights and movie studios. But yeah, nothing to write home about. I guess it's a good popcorn movie. Once it gets home, if you want to gather the gang and watch something, it's not bad as far as violence and so forth.
What rating was it?
It's by just the way? I don't even remember, to tell you the truth. I don't know if it was rated R. I believe it might have been rated R, but there was nothing in it that made me really sort of cringe or jumped out at me. There was plenty of jump out scares, by the way.
Oh, jump scares. Okay.
Jump scares. Yeah, right. But there was nothing in it that makes me think I'm going to remember this film 4 years from now. Or maybe 3 years from now, the way my brain is working these days.
Yeah. So there's nothing gratuitous, no gross stuff like that, violence. I'm going to say it was probably like PG-13, because some of these movies, again, if it's a rated R, you cap how much people could spend on it, like how many seats you're going to get, how many tickets you're going to buy. If it's rated R, it cuts a lot of demographics out. So I'm going to say it's probably PG-13, and not a big marketing. I did see some marketing, mainly actually on social media, but very little. So what
Yeah.
made you want to go see this movie that like wasn't really
Actually, I
marketed?
wanted to go see a movie that you've been talking about a lot, The Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, good movie. Great
But that
movie.
is playing less and less. And I didn't find any show times that were on my schedule. As a matter of fact, I barely saw it playing anymore. So it must be getting ready to come to video. But long story made short, it happened to be a movie that was playing within the time frame that I had to go to the movies. And I
Mm,
thought, why not? It's a popcorn flick. They seem to be doing Dracula in a way that we haven't really seen him before necessarily in a
yeah.
motion picture. And so I decided, why not? 1897 novel was Bram Stoker's Dracula, right? And this takes place around the same time. But I'm trying to look up the rating here to answer your question, and as soon as I find it, I'll let you know. But that was the reason
Yeah.
why I went to go see it. I really wanted something better, but I had
Consolation
either
prize.
that or like Meg 2 or
Oh yeah.
Gran Turismo. So I was like,
Not a lot
I'm
of choices.
going to go for the Dracula film because I'm a
Yeah.
vampire fan, but it's
What about Twilight? Did you like Twilight? Were you a big fan? Or they ruined vampires for everybody? All the Twilight saga
well,
movies.
I got to work with Nikki Reed on a film who was the other girl in the Twilight series.
Which not the
She
main what's her name? I
Not the
can't
main
forget.
character,
Okay, yeah.
right? She was one of the other the sub character, and that goes to tell you because I didn't really watch the series.
Oh
I thought Nikki was just super talented and amazing, and we cast her for this. And she's very talented as a musician. She's a singer. Matter of
oh
fact, if she
wow.
had a way, she would rather be a singer, I think.
Hmm.
But in any case, no, I didn't watch. I didn't watch that teenage girls movie series.
So you didn't catch her autograph, I'm guessing. But
No, I didn't. I didn't. But this was absolutely based on Dracula, like you said, the novel by Bram Stoker and published in 1897, and it's the trailer looked pretty interesting to me. So I went to go see it. But yeah, we spent already way too much time even talking about it.
yeah, but what I want to talk about too is Bram Stoker's Dracula, or I almost accidentally said it right, Dracula. So
Rock.
that's Dracula and
Yeah.
Transylvania. Everybody knows vampires, but the actually real story is deeper, and it's not just like this is just like a gothic masterpiece. There's also, I think, a lot of surface stuff. Just look behind the blood and guts and the monsters. To me, there's a lot of obviously a lot of rich symbolism, especially with religion. There's moral dilemmas, there's struggle, salvation. Dracula,
Yeah.
like it's good versus bad, light versus dark. And of course, Count Dracula is the main dude of the bad guys, of all the darkness, almost like an allegory to like some demon or devil creature. Of course, you have Van Helsing, who's struggling against him, and he is the guy who's on the good side, the light side. And of course, there's crucifixes, there's holy water. They use a lot of prayer and faith too, as well, as that's their weapons. They use these different weapons to combat against like all of the dark forces and stuff like that. So like if you want to dive into your faith and you want something that's like a horror thing, I think this novel is really, really good when it comes to superstition, again, demons, ghosts, goblins, vampires. And the real thing I like about it is that there's like a lot of this ritual stuff. And it's all rooted in real folklore, not necessarily truth, but there is elements that are like folklore in nature. And this is where that whole novel came from. So Dracula is timeless, and he's the embodiment of evil. And even now to this day, we're obviously making movie about him, but also he's very seductive. I don't know if you guys seen the actual movie with Keanu Reeves when he's like via con Dios, when he does that movie. Like that, I like that movie. And what's his name was the lead Dracula. He came out on Batman. Gary Oldman
Oh
performance,
yeah,
oh
right.
my goodness, his performance. But he's very
Yeah.
seductive, and to me that shows like that symbolizes corruption, right? Sin, the allure of like, oh man, there's this beautiful guy, there's this wonderful charismatic guy, and the lure of temptation, the spiritual convictions. I mean, to me this shows a contrast. it's the novel's all about contrast, the Catholic Church understanding of what is fallen human nature, what's temptation, and then of course you got Dracula embodying all of this. And I think the immorality, Dracula does a lot of like sexual immoralities, but he's also greedy, he's also power hungry. Power, it's like he wants to be a god. That's pretty much what it is. And there's a lot of course, biblical allusions that are throughout. So salvation, like what does it take to transcend human? Dracula wants to do it through corruption, through power, through control. That's the whole thing, right? Even in vampire lores, what do they do? Even in the one your favorite vampire movie with the shiny glove, even in that, what do they do? They're using power to control, to seduce women, right? And that's real gripping when it grips you in the heart. Like, man, that's man's struggle. To me, it's a mirror. It's like we struggle with temptations, and that Dracula biting you in the neck symbolizes blood, symbolizes a ritual, symbolizes the corruption of your blood, the sin. You're turning into something different. You're turning into a monster. So again, Dracula, I mean, it's not just a scary, creepy story, but I think it really gets you to think about your faith. Think about what came.
That's what I was thinking while I was watching the movie, was my faith.
Really? Yeah.
No, it was a rated R movie. It was a lot of blood, which is why I got the R rating. And I was really kind of hoping to be surprised because Mike Medavoy was one of the producers. Mike Medavoy has been nominated for like 7 Best Picture Oscars, some of his films. He did like Black Swan. He did Shutter Island.
Oh, yeah, Black Swan.
Zodiac movie. Well, he was a producer on those. So I thought, okay. And again, it was very well produced. The actors, even though there were no names in it, the director did a good job. But I wasn't thinking at all about my faith, to be honest. I was thinking about the ride. The amusement park ride. And gloom, you're waiting for something to go bad. And again, it was told and done in a way where they were transporting like 24 crates in the hull of the ship, right? And each of these crates had some mystery stuff, including one of them holding Dracula and others holding some of his victims and stuff like that. So
wow.
So yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too much away. Like I said, once it comes to home video, you can gather the group and grab some popcorn and watch it at home.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't spend the money. I'd go watch something good. Like, for example, maybe because you wanted to talk about Barbie, which I've only seen about a quarter of the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
But what did you want to say about Barbie?
I think, well, are you trying to pronounce it like Dracula, Barbila?
Yeah.
Actually, I think there was oh no, that's Elvira. That was like, there's like
Elvira.
That's a whole different Barbie. That's the original like Gothic Barbie.
1990s reference.
Yeah. But man, the movie Barbie, like I had not seen it, right? And I plan to see it. And the reason why I wanted to touch on it is actually it first of all, it cracked the top. It's now officially in the top 25 biggest grossing of all time, which is just to think about that, past $1 billion, and it just crossed number 25 all time. That's just think about that, mind blowing. But since it's in the news, I was like, you know what? It's been out several weeks. I really want to talk about one of the themes that I've listened to a bunch of reviews. You haven't seen it, but I listened and watched on YouTube a bunch of reviews. And I know, Dusty, you saw a little bit of it.
I know your family went to go see it, right? Your girls went to go see it.
Yes. They went to go see it, and they didn't really enjoy it because they didn't understand, like, Greta Gerwig. If you guys seen some of her pictures, she did Ladybug. She usually Ladybird. I'm sorry, that's Ladybird. It's a Catholic in the Catholic school, all girls Catholic school, and she does this thing in movies. What's the word? Where it's like a double layer meaning, like where the movie's about this, but really underneath it, there's another. It's not secret, but there's another layer. It's a double meaning, and she does a lot of this.
Okay.
So she's a great storyteller. She's a great writer director, and then she's a
really good writer. Yeah,
she also did what is it? Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, Little Women. That's the one. Yeah, Little Women. And so I knew, man, this is not a movie like, oh, Barbie. This is going to be a deep philosophical movie. And sure enough, when they said, oh, I didn't like it because it was boring, I was like, yes, that means it's good, because I'm like a movie snob. I really am. Like when they say this movie was good and I watch it, I'm like, really, that movie? And then I'm like, this movie's good. They're like, oh, it was boring. So that's my lip nip test. But but Barbie, there's a theme of anger. There's to me an Old Testament theme of Cain and Abel, the story. So in the story of Cain and Abel, the basic gist is you have the two brothers. They're both tilling in the garden. They're doing their work, and God favors for whatever reason. And there's actually different theories we won't get into. There's different theories on why, but God favors Abel more than Cain. And Cain is kind of like, what the heck? Like, I'm doing this and you're favoring my brother over me. And God tells him, like, warns him, I don't know the exact quote, but he tells him, like, be careful. The devil comes, like, he's banging on your door pretty much. And he tells him to be careful. And there's two choices that he could have done. Cain could have been, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to offer it up, as we say in the Catholic world. Or option two, I'm going to take revenge out. I'm going to hate the world. I'm going to use my anger and I'm going to take revenge out on a person or a world or God himself. That's what a lot of mass shooters do. They're so angry at the world. How do you get back at the world? Even though a lot of them don't believe in God, what they're really saying is, I want revenge on God for making the world the way it is. Because the world's the way it is, I want to make God suffer. And what will make him suffer is hurting his children, especially innocent children. So that's what happens.
How does this tie into Barbie? What in the world?
I was like, what
is going on with Barbie?
What movie are you seeing? Well, okay, so in the movie Barbie, now see, I'm very curious if you saw this. Ken, he wants Barbie, right? That's all. The whole world of Barbie is the women are in charge. They're presidents, doctors, they're all in charge, and the men are just like, they're secondary, they're ignored, they're shunned, they're not taken seriously, and all Ken wants is Barbie's attention. And towards the end, this shouldn't be a spoiler alert, but just in case, spoiler alerts and all of that, he tells her, like, you didn't pay attention to me. All I wanted was to be loved by you. You didn't love me. I wanted your, because he's in love with her. That's all he wants to do. He's obsessed with her. And Barbie's like, whatever, like, she doesn't need him. She pushes him away. And at the end, that's why he rebels and says, now, how do you like it? I think he even quotes like that, like, how do you like it now? And this whole thing, Barbie even says, but they throw it off. I wish they would have, from the reviews I heard, I wish they would have delved into it. But they said, a lot of them said they didn't. But Barbie was like, I'm sorry. I realized I hurt you. You wanted my attention. You wanted my love. You wanted to be seen. And I ignored you and I rejected you. So to me, it's like, man, who among any of us hasn't wanted to be seen, hasn't wanted to be loved, right? That's all we want. We all want to we just want to be loved. We want to be seen. We want to be understood. And when that doesn't happen, I reject the evil that everyone does, but I understand why people do certain things is because the hate is so much, they're rejected and they're not accepted. And when you don't get that acceptance, the only thing to do is to spite, is to hate. And you take that out on the world, yourself, other people you project it on. And to me, that just really resonated because I think everyone could understand being rejected. That's our worst feeling, is for someone said, I know who you are. I know the real you. I know the real you. And you know what? You're unlovable. Nobody wants you.
So just to be clear, we don't see any school shootings at the end of Barbie.
No, no, there's not. Just, I know this is real deep. Like, as I'm speaking this, like, I realize, like, as I'm speaking, I'm like, I'm talking about a Barbie, a Mattel toy, and I'm like getting on. But it really is. But the thing is this: God sees you. He knows the real you, and guess what? He loves the real you. And to me, the theme of rejection, taking it out, revenge, and to me, like, I think. I'm not saying, hey, everyone go out and see it and it's perfect and I'm not saying that at all. But all I'm saying is I'm really excited to see it now because I heard a lot of reviews and I really want to, and I could see even in the trailers and stuff that I looked into, I was like, wow, I see this message. Now, you who have seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, I have a screener. Okay, just to be like clear, I have a screener of the film and I've watched about 15 minutes of it. And I was very impressed with how creative it is. Just in the first 15, 20 minutes that I've seen. It caught me off guard with just how creative Greta Gerwig is. And by the way, I didn't know Greta was actually
she was
actress.
Catholic. Oh, yeah.
She was, or she is a Catholic?
Well, I know she was. I know she grew up in Catholic school. So I don't know if she's still practicing, but she did grow up in Catholic school.
That apparently, right? Because you watch her creative works, and there's definitely some angst around that whole period of her life, it seems like. But then again, what regular Catholic doesn't have angst about Catholic school? I know. So
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, I would say this. I want to say this real quick. Did you see that in the movie where the Kens like trying to get attention and the Barbies were just kind of like ignoring them? Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, in the first 20 minutes, you get a little taste of that. Although I didn't know that's what that was going to turn into a main.
Yes, it's the main. It is pretty much one of the main.
They're setting a lot of this. They spent the first 20 minutes of the film spending a lot of time setting up the
world. Yes.
Yeah, that where she lives, how she lives, whether she has real or orange juice in the morning, and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, so. But I took it at face value. I just sat down and watched it just because so many people were talking about it. We talked about Oppenheimer and Barbie. Same weekend, and there was that whole sort of thread of Barbenheimer, I guess they were calling
the Barbenheimer.
the Barbenheimer weekend. So I sat and watched the screener for a little while. But it goes to show you, I didn't finish watching the whole thing, right? I just watched the first 20 minutes. That's about as much as I could take of the cotton candy film qualities. And then I'll go back and watch it at some point. The one thing that I did watch that I do recommend highly, and I talked to you about it this weekend when we got together and shot some pool, is a series that's on Disney Plus right now called Light and Magic. And it's all about the world of industrial light and magic, the history of industrial light and magic, and really so many of the things that have come to pass because that organization existed. Nonlinear editing, digital graphics for computers, for movies. It was the home of Pixar. It was the home of an Android that led to even there's some influence there for Photoshop, by the way, which I didn't expect when I saw the film. But I really highly recommend it for all film nerds. If you like Star Trek, if you like Jurassic Park, if you like The Abyss,
I like The
Terminator
Abyss.
2.
James Cameron.
All of these movies have a birthplace at ILM, and I really enjoyed it, and would love to just erase it from my memory and watch it all over again, because I was counting down. Oh man, there's only a couple more episodes left, and I was savoring every one. As a geek, and a movie lover and a lover of Star Wars type stuff, you would love it. Even The Mandalorian, by the way, has to give credit for George Lucas and ILM, some of the stuff that went on there, that goes on there, should I say, because it's an ongoing story. But I highly recommend that. That's definitely worth your time. Again, it's called Light and Magic.
Light and Magic. We definitely have to see that. Yep. But I'll say this, when can I get a screener too? Because then I can really watch Barbie. I'll really watch it and see it, check it out and stuff like that. You're holding out. You're holding out on me.
Get me in trouble. I'll sneak it off to you, or invite you over to the house so you can watch it. But what else do we have? What else is going on in the world of Catholic Catholicism and nerds and geeks like us? So, thinking about things that we like to talk about on the show, we have our favorite new segment, or at least it's one of my favorite new segments, and that is the topic of Ask a Catholic Geek. And the topic today has to do with the seal of confession. Now, what is the seal of confession? The seal of confession is something that is more than just an embodiment of confession and the sacredness, I guess, of confession. But this is the question that has to do with it, and we can kind of dive into it a little bit more. The question that comes to us is, are there exceptions to the seal of confession? Now, when it comes to confession, one of the things I think about is being a kid and thinking, well, what if I tell the priest something in the confessional? Can he go tell my dad or my mom or my parents or my teachers or somebody, right? And so that's where the seal of confession comes in. The priest is not allowed to discuss with anyone outside of the confessional, in other words, just you and him, what it is that you confess to him. All right. It could involve even a crime, right, that you committed, that you're asking forgiveness for. He's not allowed to run to the police and tell them about that crime. So the question is, could a priest reveal sins, not the name of the person? okay, to a third party. For example, a bishop. Let's say somebody admits to a priest that they committed sacrilege in a church, but it has not yet been discovered. Could the priest inform the bishop by saying something like, a penitent told me that he did X, Y, Z? And the answer to that is, of course, no. The seal of confession is an absolute. But that, in and of itself, brought up a whole bunch of topics for me, and possibly even a nice little independent film that I would love to write.
Wow.
About the seal of confession, because there's a lot of drama here, right? So the seal of confession in the Catholic Church is a highly protected and regarded as inviolable, which means you can't violate it. According to Canon 983.1 of the Code of Canon Law, it is a crime for a confessor, a priest, to betray a penitent by word or by any other manner or for any reason. The obligation to maintain the secrecy of confession is absolute, and there are generally no exceptions to this rule. That's interesting because they say there are generally no exceptions to this rule. I wonder if there are reasons why there could be, but apparently no. This is an absolute thing. The sacramental seal is so sacred that even in cases where there is potential harm or serious consequences, a priest cannot break the seal. So, for example, one of the things I thought of is, what if somebody came and confessed, I am hurting someone. I have a person locked in my basement. And I am hurting them. Could a priest go and tell somebody about that? And the answer is no, apparently not. Now, the priest can spend some time and energy trying to convince you